Hello, welcome to our parent-teacher conference. I'm happy to be here, Mr. and Mrs. Jason's parents. So first off, Jason's very social with his peers. He enjoys talking and always participates in a class discussion. He participates when we do a pair share, talks to his peers, and so that's great. He also has a lot of positive energy. Even if he's frustrated, I've noticed that he's able to switch his attitude over quickly and get back to work and focus on the task at hand, which is great. He seems to enjoy doing math, and he's told me he enjoys it as well. He's good at it. He does really well, and he uses different strategies that we've covered in class. For instance, for addition and subtraction, we have different strategies to solve problems, and he shares those with me when he implements them in his work, which I appreciate. I've also noticed that he loves reading Pete the Cat books, which is something to note when you're at home. Those would be good books to have at home to read with him, but he also likes choosing books. That's kind of when he enjoys reading the most, is when he gets to choose what he gets to read, which I think we all do. So I've done several assessments over this past semester, and I just wanted to go over them with you quickly and talk about what they were, what their purposes, and why I assessed Jason with these strategies. So the first one is called a Burke reading interview, and it's an interview. It just has several questions about how somebody feels about reading, what they like about it, what they feel makes a good reader, strategies that they use when they're reading, what they'd like to improve with their reading, etc. And so I, just at the beginning of this semester, I really wanted to get to know Jason's feelings about reading before diving into other reading assessments, and so I could get a better idea as to what he likes to read and what books I could provide for him. And this really helped with my instruction and assessment of him as I got to know his thoughts on reading and what he liked to read better. The next one was a running record, and I actually did 3 of these over this semester. And the purpose of these is to assess a student's reading, and it really helps identify error patterns in reading. So specific errors that we're seeing consistently over a period of time or across several different texts. And so I just wanted to determine what errors Jason has been making and why he's making those. He enjoys reading and reads a lot during class, especially as a fast finisher in class. That's an option, and he almost always chooses to read, which I think is great. But I've noticed during our individual reading groups that he does make some errors when reading aloud, so I really wanted to identify those specific errors and what they were to help direct my instruction later on. Then a retelling record. I actually did 4 of these, but this just assesses a student's comprehension of what was read and their ability to summarize major events that occurred in their reading. So just the reason why I did these was I just wanted to ensure that Jason is able to comprehend what he's reading while he's reading, but also while he's being read to. So for one of them, I actually read to him and assessed if he was able to retell what I read to him. I did an extra one of these because for the first 3, it seemed like he didn't quite understand what summarizing meant. If I said what happened at the beginning, he could tell me what happened, middle, and so on. But if I said, tell me about what happened in this book, summarize what happened in what you just read, he would state a couple facts, and so it didn't seem like he quite understood what summarizing meant. And so before the 4th assessment, I kind of went over what summarizing means to try and provide a bit more clarity. Then the next assessment I did was a primary spelling inventory, which just assesses a student's phonological awareness, so their understanding of basic letter sounds, vowel sounds, short and long, etc. We don't often assess spelling in our class, but I just wanted to check and see if Jason's catching on to some of the things we've been going over in class, such as digraphs, the silent E, and things like that. And then the last assessments that I did were part of this writing sample rating scale, and I did 2 of these. So I assessed writing samples from the beginning of the semester and then writing samples from the end. And they assess a student's writing language level, whether they only write letters, whether they write full sentences, paragraphs, etc., and also if they're writing incomplete thoughts or if they're repeating some phrases multiple times within a paragraph or within a couple of sentences one after the other, and also to just make sure that students are writing in the correct direction, so left to right, top to bottom, things like that. And so I reviewed, like I said, assessments from across the whole semester. I wanted to see if he was improving, or if there were some other areas that I needed to focus on in his writing that maybe didn't improve or he kind of took a step back with. So there are 3 specific strengths that I wanted to touch on, and the first one is just he is comprehending what he's reading, whether he's doing the reading or if he's being read to. If I, again, asked him what happened at the beginning of the story, he could easily tell me that. However, and he was able to provide at least one detail from the beginning, middle, and end of each story, which was great. He was also able to write in full sentences. I noticed that in his writing samples. He averaged a 4 out of 6 on his overall message quality, which means he's doing really well at writing full thoughts and conveying a full message in his sentences, again, on the writing sample scale. And then the third strength that I've noticed is that he's able to correctly spell using consonants at both the beginning and end of words. He's also able to use short vowels well. So in the primary spelling inventory, he correctly used consonants and short vowels with 100% accuracy, so he's not having any problems with that. So just with that first strength with his comprehension, like I mentioned before, it seems like he doesn't understand what summarizing means. So at school, we'll really discuss what that means and then practice. Writing sentences, help students identify who wanted something, the problem, and how it was resolved. And then at home, if you can, before reading, talk about the story, look through the illustrations, and discuss what Jason's familiar with to kind of activate that background knowledge, just to support his comprehension. And then at the end, ask him what happened. If he needs, ask him what happened at the beginning, middle, and end. But you can start asking him to summarize, and hopefully he'll be able to truly summarize what he read. And then for that second strength, how he's able to write in full sentences that make sense and reflect full ideas. At school, I really try to read a variety of books aloud, and I want to talk with Jason individually about what he's reading, and just discuss with everybody the different voices that they notice in what they're reading. Because I did notice that sometimes his writing doesn't vary with his sentences, so they might start with the same thing. And so if we talk about different voices in reading or in writing and how we can do this and then practice that by writing, it can encourage varied starts to writing. And then at home, again, read to your child and make sure books that you're reading vary in writing styles. So some books have more repetition than others, such as Brown Bear, but then there's also Where the Wild Things Are, which doesn't have much repetition, but they all convey complete thoughts and meanings. And then for that third strength, Jason was able to correctly spell using consonants and also applying or using short vowels. And so at school, I provide and I'm going to continue providing students with multiple opportunities for writing in different contexts. So in math and science, social studies, free writes, journal writing, everything like that. Just so that the students applying their current knowledge in different types of writing so that they're writing different words that apply to the same knowledge. So just having him practice again using consonants and those vowels in different contexts, so to make sure that they truly understand that. And then at home, review high frequency words. That's something that their knowledge of consonants and vowels might not help them with as much, because you can't really decode those words. So for instance, U for help, and I have a list for you that you can take home and practice with as well. Now there are 2 areas of needs that I just wanted to talk about. Jason could work on applying digraphs in his writing and spelling. So consonant digraphs are 2 consonants that make one sound, such as CH, which makes a ch sound. And I noticed in the primary spelling inventory, he didn't get any of the digraphs in his spelling of those words. However, we've been going over digraphs for the past couple of weeks. And so I really want to make sure that he's not only knowing what the digraph sound makes, but that he's able to use that knowledge in different contexts, like in reading and writing. Then another thing is just he could work on his confidence and persistence in his reading. He does love reading. He reads a lot on his own, but I've noticed that on many of his running records, there were many teacher assists where he would turn to me and didn't want to attempt the words, and I wasn't able to get him to try them because I didn't want to frustrate him to the point of him stopping reading. And one running record specifically was on November 14th, and there were 6 teacher assists out of 40 total words and out of 9 total errors. And so a lot of those errors were just teacher assists. And so I think if we increase his confidence and his strategies in decoding words, then his confidence will increase and he won't turn to the teacher or to his parent as much. He'll try and figure the word out on his own. So to work on digraphs in his writing and spelling and reading, at school we're going to review the digraphs a lot more as a class, but within context. So within a book or something they read on a sign or things like that. And then we're also going to practice writing words with various digraphs on whiteboards. So I want to make sure they're applying their knowledge of digraphs in their writing and reading so that it's actually useful. And then at home, I think it would be great if you played an I Spy game. You can play it anywhere, pointing out different words that contain digraphs. Have him identify the digraph, have him identify what sound the digraph makes, just as a review of that, but then also asking him what he thinks the word is. So that's definitely something that can be done anywhere. Doesn't have to be done with a book, but it could also be done with a book that you may have at home. And then for that second area of need or improvement, read a lot. We're going to read a lot at school. So that second area of improvement was just working on his persistence and confidence with reading. So we read a lot at school, but we're going to continue with that. And we're also going to review strategies such as phonic analysis, so analyzing each letter in the word and looking at their sequence and how you would say the word. So just taking a minute to process the words and not rushing through or turning straight to a parent or teacher when you need help. And then also another good strategy is decoding by analogy. So looking at, let's say, the word call, and he might know the word all, and so he would just need to add the C or K sound at the beginning, and then he could get the word call. So those are 2 strategies that we'll review in class, and then during one-on-one reading time or small reading groups and things like that, I'll definitely pay close attention and read with Jason and make sure that if he needs help, that he's first implementing those strategies and using his own knowledge before requesting help right away without trying. And then at home, again, for all of these things, just read as much as you can. If he struggles, you can tell him the word, but review the word and maybe talk about any familiar words around that word in the context, try and apply that word in different contexts, and you can chant the word, you can clap the syllables in the word. So just giving that student exposure to these words that they're unfamiliar with will really be helpful and hopefully will then help him in his future reading. But again, just encouraging using strategies that have been talked about and own strategies. If Jason can come up with his own strategies, then that's great, because it's all about reading and comprehension. If he can comprehend what he's reading, he's going to be just fine. So overall, he's doing a great job at his writing complete thoughts that make sense, and he's also applying his knowledge of consonant sounds and short vowels in his writing and when he's reading. And then he, again, is comprehending his reading really well. We just need to work on the summarizing and what that really means. But again, he could work on his application of digraph knowledge a little more. He knows the digraphs, but he's just not applying that knowledge, or that knowledge isn't transferring over to context, so with his reading and writing. And also just working on applying those decoding strategies in his reading to increase that confidence. He'll get a bit more fluent, and it'll just help him with his overall reading and confidence, like I said. And really, the biggest thing I can't stress anymore is just that you're reading at home. It's so important and can help in so many areas, like we've discussed, and many more. And feel free to reach out to me anytime you need. You can email me or call me, whatever you need. I'm always here to help, and I definitely want the best for Jason, and he's progressing, and I'll continue doing these assessments, and I look forward to seeing you at the next parent-teacher conference. But again, reach out to me anytime you need. Thank you for coming.